Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have a brand new update to go over for Stormgate. Massive changes to the campaign are finally here, so if you are a campaign player and that's what you've been waiting for, it might be time to re-download the game and give it a try. It's still far from being completely finished. It's not the 1.0, but they are big improvements. Not only that though, there are also a lot of visual updates to both the Infernals and the Vanguard, so we're going to check everything out in this video. Without further ado, if you guys enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed. I do my best to keep you guys up to date with everything Stormgate as well as other RTS games, so you might find something to your liking here. And as always, thank you guys so much for your ongoing support. So the main meat of this update is going to be to the campaign experience. They have essentially completely overhauled the campaign. So if you played it 8 months ago when Early Access released, it's barely going to be recognizable. The story is completely different. Now we see the Vanguard have actually been venturing around in space, and now after the Infernals have ravaged the planet Earth, the Vanguard are now coming back there trying to reclaim it. There are new cinematic cutscenes, there's new art of course, the game just has a much darker, grittier feel to it, there's new audio, new mission designs, etc. There's a brand new campaign hub where you can interact with different characters from the game. All of the dialogue is new as far as I can tell as well. There are also new tech decision trees that you can basically tech up to give your faction passive abilities, if you will, throughout the campaign there between missions, although I haven't encountered any of them yet. I've only done the first couple of missions. Needless to say, I'm not going to be showing you guys any spoilers here. This is just a bit of random campaign footage, but I have done a playthrough of the first 2 missions, and I'm going to be uploading those separately to the channel for anybody who wants to get a feel for what they play like without actually playing them for yourself. Even the hero character herself, for the Vanguard, Amara, she's been totally overhauled. She's got new skills and abilities. The characters or the heroes now level up as well, kind of similar to Warcraft, where each time you get a level you get a new ability or you can upgrade it. The item system as well has been completely overhauled. It's just a completely new experience, and personally, if I'm speaking from my heart, I think that it is massively improved. It's still a long way from being a 1.0 release, so if you're waiting for that, then by all means, nothing wrong with continuing to do that, but I think they're definitely on the right course here. However, the campaign changes are not all that is new here. You're also going to see a lot of visual changes for the Infernals, but also the Vanguard. So a lot of the new units, a lot of the new models are now in the game. So for the Vanguard, we've got the new Servo, which is replacing the Bob as the new worker. They're kind of funny. Whenever you attack them, they're just kind of like, ow, that hurts, stop. Ow. I don't know, I find it kind of funny at least. There's a new Hedgehog model, there's a new Hornet model, and an Evac model, and then for the Infernals, which you can see me playing as here, there is the brand new Brute, the Fiend, and the Gaunt, and then we've also got a Phantom, which we'll get to in a minute, a new Spriggan texture, and then a new Flayed Dragon texture as well. And then for the heroes for the campaign, we've got new models for Riker and Malak, and then a bunch of new models for the NPCs as well. So whilst these are definitely not finished, you can tell from the buildings that a lot of them are the same as they were. A lot of the units are still the same as well. These still need to be overhauled, but I was watching Loco's stream today, and the game director, Tim Campbell, was on that, and he said the Infernals at the moment are maybe getting close to like around 50% done, so they're nowhere near finished. But from what I've played so far, missioning around with these Brutes and Fiends and Gorns, it just feels like a different faction to me. The sounds feel better, it looks better, they move better. I don't know, it's really hard to pinpoint and put your finger on exactly what has changed and all of the small nuances. But for anybody who basically tried the game and just said, no, this is not for me, they put it down straight away, if you're one of those people, I would urge you to come back and give it a try. Just pick it up and see what you feel about it with an open mind. If you still don't like it, that's totally fine, but it is free to play, so there's no harm in doing that either, I guess. Now, if you're somebody who enjoys 1 versus 1, and that's your bag when it comes to these kind of games, there are some major changes that are going to shake up the meta of the game. So, first off, they have removed the starting units that were causing frustrating interactions, as they put it. So before, you always used to get 1 starting unit. If you were the Vanguard, you got one of the scouts, so you could instantly make a beeline for the enemy base and scout exactly what they were doing, which really led to fewer interesting interactions or, proxy buildings, being able to hide tech buildings and that sort of thing. They've completely removed these now. So the start of the game is going to be a little bit slower. You're just building up things, you're making your workers, you're putting down your buildings, deciding what sort of a build order you want to execute, and then moving on from there. They've also increased the movement speed of most units by around 15, 20, or even 25% to allow for more action-packed gameplay. So the game is going to play a little bit faster now as well. They've decreased both the cost and the health of tier 1 units across the board to better differentiate tier 1 units versus the higher tier units. So you will feel now, and I felt this especially with the Lancers of the Vanguard, they are nowhere near as tanky as they used to be. They feel a lot more squishy, so that they're not going to be basically leading into those small battles at the start of games where you've got maybe 3 Lancers versus an enemy 3 Lancers, and it's just this like never-ending fight going on. They've also changed the construction mechanics of all of the workers to be a charge-based system to make missing worker production less mechanically punishing and to more easily enable comebacks if there's a significant number of worker deaths. So what they mean by this is the system that the Infernals had, where you used to be able to charge up 3 of any unit on a building, and then you could just like boom, 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 spam 3 of them out there. That charge system is now going to be applied for all of the workers on all 3 of the races, but instead of getting 3 charges, you now get 5 of them. So as they stated here, this is going to make it a little bit mechanically less challenging. But of course, at the beginning of the game, if you want to be mining to the maximum efficiency, it is going to be in your interest to make those workers as soon as those charges start to queue up, right? But if you're not quite as good of a player and you forget your worker production for a moment, then you can kind of go, oh shit, and like spam that button and get out as many workers as you have charges for. Shroud 2 for the Infernals has been given a good visual update here, so it now spreads up ramps. It also visually displays on the minimap, and it changes the appearance of trees when it touches them, which I think looks really, really awesome. And then on top of that, all infernal structures will now emit shrouds. So not just the shroud stones and the shrines, every single building will now spread it. Now, once we're on the topic of the versus mode, all of the leaderboards are going to be reset. So if there are new people jumping into Stormgate at the moment, they're jumping into versus, it's going to be a good time for you as a new player to jump in as well, because you'll have some easier opponents to go up against. And they've also changed the AI. So before, you used to basically just get like a peaceful AI, and I forget the name, some other kind of AI, but neither of them really did much. Now you've actually got proper AI that will fight against you, lead attacks against you. They will, make their own unit compositions and stuff like that. They even say GG and good luck, have fun and stuff like that. It's kind of nice. So you've got an easy AI, a normal one, and then a hard one, and that's great for new people coming into the game who want to practice a bit. On the other hand, if you are a co-op player, you're kind of out of luck at the moment. They've basically frozen the co-op portion of the game for the time being so that they can put their efforts into concentrating on the campaign and the versus mode. I think that's a good idea. Scope creep is definitely something that kills games, and I think that is one of the big criticisms around Stormgate, is that they bit off more than they could chew. They tried too many things, and so I think it is the right decision here to really kind of concentrate on arguably the 2 things that matter the most. Now, that is not to say that they are not going to continue on the co-op mode and improving that. It is going to be there, but it's going to be in future updates, so nothing really new there in 0.4. So coming back to the balance notes here and getting a little bit into the nitty-gritty now of the versus mode, there are some interesting bits here that I wanted to point out. So firstly, starting resources have been increased from 150 Luminite to 300. So once you don't get any sort of scouting unit at the beginning of a game, you now get a bunch of workers, and you do get 300 Luminite. So you put your workers to mine, and you can instantly start building some production facilities, a habitat, your food building, whatever it may be, and sort of get to work executing your build. Many structures are also constructed faster. It says, note that some infernal structures increased in build time due to infernal structures gaining a 50% build speed bonus on Shroud. So that's one of the ways they've also changed Shroud, is that now if you're building upon Shroud, you get a massive buff to the build speed. Now for the Infernals here, they no longer have the white health system. So this used to work that they had a separate health bar that would recharge while they were on Shroud. They've done away with that white health bar entirely, and now their health has been rebalanced to account for this. So a lot of the units have gained health And now instead, they're just going to get like passive health regen when they're standing on the Shroud. So it's basically going to be a lot more like Creep from StarCraft, where units just regenerate. The white health bar thing was kind of confusing, I'm not going to lie, so I think it is going to be better this way. Now, the infestability for the Gaunts has been renamed to Curse, and the cursed units will now spawn phantoms when they die. So instead of spawning fiends as they did before, they are now going to spawn phantoms. Now, the brand new Brute, as you can see, he's basically looks like this huge walking demon instead of like a derpy ogre of some kind. And he has a new ability. It's called Infernal Fury, and it says the Brute launches towards an enemy unit, slamming and stunning it for 0.5 of a second on impact. Enemy units cannot be stunned in this way more than once every 2 seconds, so you can't sort of chain it. If the Brute slams the enemy unit in Shroud, it gains 50% bonus attack speed for 5 seconds. That is absolutely massive there. So this is a charge here, and clearly it's going to be very, very effective whilst on the defense. You can tell that they are really trying to sort of push you into playing on Shroud, using the Shroud, you know, delaying the building speed effectively if you're not building on Shroud and that sort of stuff. The Hellborn has been reworked to be a mid-range single-target anti-heavy unit, so it's no longer going to be a siege unit or a splash damage unit. It's just going to be single-target for anti-heavy, and these are all the changes here. I'm not going to read them all. You guys can pause and read them for yourselves, and of course, I will be linking the full patch notes down below if you want to go and get every single statistic there. Spriggans now build 2 at a time. The cost is unchanged, so what that effectively means is that Spriggans have now had their cost halved. So I think we can expect to see a lot more Spriggan plays. They've not generally been a unit that we see much in Infernal Pro play, at least not the last time I was sort of heavily casting games of Stormgate, so that's going to be pretty nice to see some new units there. But it's clear that the team have been extremely hard at work. I think for 8 months of work, this is actually really, really good progress. Like I said, you know, multiple times, the game is far from over, so if you are that person who just wants to wait for the 1.0 release, you don't want to keep coming in and checking on each little iteration again and again, that's fine. I totally understand that, and I think that is a completely valid thing to do. But if you're somebody who is open to early access stuff, but you just didn't like it before, I would urge you, come back, give it a go, I'll see what you think. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. As always, I will be very interested to hear what you all have to say about this down below. What do you think of the campaign? Like I mentioned, there's going to be a campaign playthrough of the first couple of missions going up on the channel pretty soon, so look out for that one if you're interested and you don't mind spoilers. If you enjoyed today's video, leaving a like below is always appreciated, as well as subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.